Skills Test, Unit 2, Exercise 3.
It was nearly midnight on Sunday, the 14th of April, 1912. The largest ship in the world, the RMS Titanic, was sailing to New York. It had left Southampton 4 days earlier, and in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, most of the 2,224 people on board were sleeping. What happened at 11:40 p.m. that night, of course, was one of the most famous catastrophes in history. The ship smashed into a huge iceberg. As the water was coming into the ship, the passengers tried to flee, but there were only 20 lifeboats. By 3 a.m., after the Titanic had sunk, 1,500 people had lost their lives. The other 700 people remained on the lifeboats. For hours, they floated in the middle of the Atlantic until another ship, the Carpathia, came and picked them up. They arrived in New York 3 days later. There were also a lot of animals on board the Titanic. People would take their pets with them when they travelled and settled in a new country. There were also chickens to provide fresh eggs for the passengers. And in those days, large ships used to have a lucky cat on board to keep down the number of mice. The Titanic's cat was called Jenny, although she wasn't so lucky. There is a story of a large black dog called Rigel, who belonged to William Murdoch, one of the people working on the ship. The story appeared in the New York Herald on April the 21st, 1912, but no one really knows if it actually happened or not. When the Titanic was sinking, William Murdoch stayed on board, but Rigel had stayed close to one of the lifeboats, lifeboat number 4, and jumped into the water with it. Lifeboat 4, filled with people, floated in the sea. It was completely dark, and the water was freezing cold. The people were tired and frightened. Rigel was swimming near the lifeboat. After 3 hours, the Carpathia had arrived. It was looking for boats, trying to pick up survivors. The Carpathia couldn't see lifeboat number 4, and the people on it were too weak to call for help. But Rigel was strong enough to bark loudly. Because they had heard the dog, the crew of the Carpathia were able to find lifeboat 4, grab all the men and women on it, and pull them to safety. And Rigel too, of course.